Hi, I'm Witchy Max and I'm here to show you the makeup I wore to the new Mockingjay movie. I put elements of fire with the yellow, orange and red shimmery shades and bird-like qualities with the pointed inner corner, which kinda reminds me of a beak, not to mention the feathery lashes and flicked out winged liner. I started with the Urban Decay Eye Primer in Sin, which has a light golden metallic colour, and I applied that all over my eye from my lashes to brow and a little under the lower lash line too. I went to my Inglot palette and took the darkest shade of the Peach No. 111R shadow and used the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush and liberally applied it to my crease as a transition shade. Then I took the lightest shadow in the trio and applied it to my brow bone as my brow highlight and took it into the inner crease as well. For a gold base, I took Urban Decay 24/7 Eye Pencil in El Dorado, and after breaking off the tip and sharpening it again, I drew that onto the inner half of my eyelid, then blended out the edge of it with my finger and made sure I coated the tear duct too. Then for a red base, I used the Makeup Geek Gel Eyeliner in Poison and applied that with the tip of my finger, dabbing it on the outer half of my lid, making sure to get an opaque colour payoff and blend the top edge towards my crease as well as the centre area merging nicely with the gold pencil. Then for shadows, I got my 10 Inglot palette and took this gold shade, which is 430 Pearl, and applied it to the inner third of my lid with the Sigma E57 Firm Shader brush. I also went into the light gold shade number 34 AMC Shine and applied that with the Sigma E56 shader lid to the inner tear duct, taking it onto the inner crease, blending it into the top edge of the gold shade on the lid. Then into the Naked One palette and the Golden Shadow Half Baked on the same firm shader brush, and I applied that to the first third, overlapping the Inglot Gold, brightening up the start of the lid and bridging the gap between the lightest gold and the rest of the lid. Now for some pigmenty goodness, I'm taking the Sugarpill Chromolust Loose Shadow in Asteria, and I took MAC Fix Plus to spray my firm shader brush and pressed my brush into the lid to pick up the pigment and then rubbed the goldeny orange shade over the centre of my lid. I'm mainly getting it on there and not worrying about blending yet. Then to finish out the lid, I'm taking another Sugarpill pigment called Asylum, this dark blood red colour, and I'm spritzing my brush once again and dipping the brush into the pigment, working it into the bristles and applying that to the outer third of my lid. The reason I'm wetting my brush with MAC Fix Plus is to get a more intense and shimmery effect out of the pigments. I'm taking some Asylum into my crease and I'm using the Sigma E44 Firm Blender to buff out the edge of the pigment before it dries. Now I'm using the Sigma E55 Eye Shading Brush to take some dry Asteria pigment and blend the edges of the orange on the lid, creating a seamless blurred effect from the gold to the red across the lid. I'm also taking a bit of that into the crease to soften the edges. And back to that Firm Blender brush and the Asylum pigment to take that up into the crease as a base for the deeper shadows to come. Speaking of, here's another Inglot eyeshadow in Pearl 450, and I'm using the tip of the blending brush to darken up the crease with this cranberry colour, taking that to meet the gold on the inner side. You can check out any of these Sigma brushes by clicking my link in the description box. There's also 10% off if you use this month's code. To brighten up the brow bone and blend down the crease, I used the light shade from the Inglot 111R again and the Deluxe Crease Brush. I went back between the Firm Blender brush with the Inglot 450 and Sugarpill Asylum shadows, building up the crease and using the Deluxe Crease Brush to keep it blended out nicely. Onto the Naked 3 palette and the darkest shadow Blackheart, which is this black shade with red sparkles in it, and I used it on the Sigma Firm Blender brush to deepen up the crease. I went gradually and built up the darkness using the tip of the brush to apply the colour and then buffed it out into the red. I kept the red tones in there with the Inglot 450 Pearl shadow, and as usual the idea is to layer the shadows until you are satisfied with the result. And it's also a good idea to brighten up the lid with the Asylum on the firm shader brush to make sure the lid shadows don't get blended away or get any fallout to dim the colour. I took more Blackheart to join the darkness on the crease to the lower lash line and enjoyed my Isaac Hayes album while doing it. And on the beginning of the lower lash line I added some Inglot 34 AMC Shine with the Sigma E56 shader lid. I added some Makeup Geek Poison Gel Eyeliner for the rest of the lower lash line, using the pointed end of this cotton bud to apply it and the other side to buff it out, joining it up to the outer corner of the upper lid. I cleaned up some fallout under my eyes with a makeup wipe and reshaped the eyeshadow a little bit, then continued on buffing the gel eyeliner onto my lower lid. Back to the El Dorado gold pencil, and I applied that on the inner third and smudged it with my fingertip. I decided to create a triangle with the makeup wipe, removing the rest of the gold on the inner corner and shaping it thusly. I took another gel eyeliner, this one is from Inglot in number 77, and coated another cotton bud in the product, then ran that along my tight line. I also applied the matte gel liner to the waterline as well, only taking it 2/3 of the way along, matching it where the red eyeshadow is on the lower lash line, and smudged the product into the lashes, creating darkness on the outer edge there. Next, I took the E57 Firm Shader brush and the orange Asteria pigment to apply to the center of my lash line, blending it into the gold on the inner third and the darkened red on the outer edge. This adds a nice bright pop on the lower lash line to match with the upper lip. Now to intensify the red on the outer third, I went back in with Asylum and the tip of the Firm Shader brush, dipping it into the lid as before and smudging it in with the black base. To increase the depth of color, I went into Blackheart from the Naked 3 palette and used the Firm Blender to give a diffuse aura of darkness, joining it up to the crease. And for more intensity, I used the E21 smudge brush with Blackheart again to get right into the outer edge of the lower lash line and really darken up the lashes while blending out the gel eyeliner. Back to the Firm Blender to smooth that out and make sure the black transitions into the red shadow. With the Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in El Dorado, I coated what was left of my waterline, brightening up the inner portion to match the gold section. And for my eyeliner, I'm using Urban Decay 24/7 liquid liner in Perversion to create an interesting winged liner. First, I'm starting with a thin line along my lashes, creating a base for false lashes and definition of the eye. Then I start with the wing and flick out the line towards the end of the eyeshadow and bring it back into the lash line, joining it up with the liner and thickening it up, making sure it matches the other side as much as I can. It's always good to step back and check your liner further away from the mirror to get a better idea of how it looks. Then I started from under that main wing and drew another longer stroke, joining that up to the liner and adding a shorter flick above it with one last feathery bit closer to my crease. Next, I took out the Makeup Forever Aqua Liner in number 10, which is this red liquid liner, and applied matching feathery strokes between the main black ones, following the general shape of the bird-like wing. Make sure you let the liquid liner dry before you open your eyes so it doesn't smudge into your crease, but avoid hitting yourself in the face like me. For a golden touch, I used Urban Decay 24/7 liquid liner in El Dorado and added some highlights to the wing with a few strokes building it up. I went back to the Perversion liquid eyeliner to start on my inner corner detail. I ran the liner all the way along down my tear duct and then created a segment following that line, and then I finished off a triangle shape drawing a line towards the center of my lash line, about where the gold shadow ends. I also created a point at the tip and cleaned up any spillover with the cotton bud. Then, to fill in the space, I reached for my eye candy sprinkles in Bananarama, which is a fine gold glitter, and I used the Real Techniques detailed brush and the Illamasqua sealing gel to add a drop to the lid and mix a glitter paste, then smear that all over the space between the liner. I also picked up some dry glitter and dabbed that over the top to make sure the section was opaque with gold glitter to create a pointed beak shape on the inner corner, increasing the birdesque look to the makeup. I took the Perversion liquid liner again to go over the triangular lines to make sure they were still defined and to cover any glitter that made its way onto them. And then I have this. I curled my lashes before getting out my CoverGirl Clump Crusher mascara to add a coat to my upper lashes, just enough to remove the eyeshadow fallout and make them black for the false lashes to come. And I also boogied on down to add a decent amount to my lower lashes, only on the outer 2/3 where the darker shadows are, so as not to interrupt the gold glitter highlight on the inner triangle area. For brows, I used Benefit Browsings in Light, and I took the wax side first to run through my eyebrows using the little angled brush that comes in the kit. After combing that through, I went in with the powder side to set the wax using the other itty bitty brush. And finally, I used Benefit Gimme Brow to set the hairs in place. For false lashes, I was choosing between the Girls with Attitude Burlesque Lashes in Cocoa or Striptease, and I ended up choosing Striptease because they were a bit more feathery. I cleaned up the fallout on my face once more with a makeup wipe to get ready for foundation. I went with the usual suspects. For some gold glowing cheeky cheeks, I used MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish in Whisper of Guilt and my Hakuhodo S113 highlight brush, taking that along my cheekbones thoroughly and also my Cupid's bow as a highlight. And I used my Surf Baby cheek powder in the shade My Paradise, also from MAC, to add some color to my cheeks with the Real Techniques blush brush. The mainly matte coral shade works well with all the warm tones in the eye makeup, and the gold highlight ties it all together perfectly too. I settled down the blush with my angled powder brush to keep it from getting out of hand, and I intensified the Cupid's bow highlight using my finger and the MAC Whisper of Guilt, also adding some to the tip of my nose and the bridge, then blending that out with the Hakuhodo brush and brushing some onto my forehead. I made sure that wouldn't go anywhere by spraying the Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray all over my face. I cleaned off my lips with makeup remover and a cotton bud, then primed them with MAC Prep and Prime Lip Base. I boogie while it sets, and I took another MAC product, which is the lip pencil in Cherry, to fill in my lips with enough of the red color, and then I defined the outline, keeping them to my usual shape. I went for a nice deep red shade in the Chanel Rouge Allure Velvet lipstick in number 38 and applied that all over the pencil as one would expect. I removed the excess between my lips and went on to a really fun highlight of the eye candy Bananarama glitter that I used on the eyes. I took my finger and pressed the glitter onto the center of my lower and upper lips while blotting my lips together to blur out the edges. Pretty much any creamy lipstick will let glitter stick to it, so you don't need any glue or mixing medium. And you can blow between your lips to remove any excess glitter, which will just float away. Then I got rid of any of the glitter that got on my teeth while I applied it by pouring some water into my mouth and swishing that around. Ingesting a little bit of glitter never hurt anyone. Then all I have to do is whip off my hair bow, which I got from Elizabeth Weeks at her shop on Etsy called Cheesecake Dolls, and I foofed my hair about to finish up. And there you have it, a fiery bird-inspired makeup with some beautiful shimmery eyeshadows and accents of glitter on the eyes and lips, which ties the whole look together really nicely, if I do say so myself. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this Mockingjay on Fire makeup look, and subscribe for more tutorials. And if you are feeling terribly festive, you can use these red and gold lips for a Christmas party. And from my experience drinking through a straw, eating popcorn and a chucked up ice cream, the lip actually holds up pretty well, and you can take the little pot of glitter to touch up the center if you want. If you want to scope me out more socially, you can check the description box for the links. I'm Mishti Max everywhere, and I'll see you there. Also check iTunes for my podcast and band's music.
Click the little boxes if you want to see all the tutorials.